She had to tell the audience that she tips big because even she knows she sounds insufferable. Hey, I'm an but at least I tip. This dame probably virtue signals on the toilet. But that's not the point here. While everybody else was trying to figure out how to survive as the government told us that breathing in public could kill us, Sunny was lolling around in her big house clicking on pictures of arugula while mixing Cocoa Puffs into her Haagen-Dazs. Oh, the oppression. I wonder if she wiped down the groceries herself or had her maid do it.
Everyone missed the real story except Joe Rogan and Greg Gutfeld, who saw straight through Sunny Hostin's TV smile and yanked the curtain down like a plot twist no one ordered. Rogan dropped brain bombs, Gutfeld brought the laughs, and together, they turned her polished persona into a heap of punchlines. One moment she's serving hot takes on The View, the next she's scrambling for the exit like someone flipped her teleprompter upside down. What did they expose? Sunny's forecast. Just got stormy.
They get so much hate watching and hate watching viral clips of them saying ridiculous things. I mean, it is a rabies-infested hen house.
and at the same time, it seemed like the most interesting part was their audience seemed to be on my side.
Yes.
It's almost strange how Sunny Hostin always seems to land on the most incorrect take in any situation, like it's some Olympic event. If clueless confidence were a monetizable skill, she'd be Forbes' Woman of the Year. But the real stunner is this. In a world filled with experts, historians, economists, and people with at least 2 brain cells to rub together, Sunny still manages to be the loudest and least logical. Enter Joe Rogan and Greg Gutfeld, 2 men who took one look at her highlight reel of televised nonsense and said, enough.
Hostin's obsession with race gets thrown back in her face. Today's video comes to us from Sunny Hostin. Sounds like a town. We're in Sunny Hostin. She was on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show dedicated to researching celebrity ancestry. For context, Sunny is a staunch supporter of reparations and has made a fortune spewing nonsense about white privilege and racial justice. Well, turns out she's not as oppressed as she claims she is. She's actually the descendant of slave owners from Europe.
Rogan, who's hosted everyone from neuroscientists to flat earthers without combusting from the sheer IQ, Range seemed genuinely baffled that someone could make being wrong a full-time broadcasting gig. Sunny Hostin has this uncanny tendency to speak in moral absolutes, as if she's broadcasting from a mountaintop, handing down commandments to the rest of us unwashed masses. And Greg Gutfeld, he practically salivated at the chance to swan dive into the volcano of her hypocrisy.
Yeah, I saw you on The View.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's been overwhelming my past couple days.
Yeah, is that annoying?
No.
No?
No, I mean, it's just, when I was on there, I really had no idea how it was going to land with the audience. So I just went in there, did my thing. I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know who Sunny Hostin was. I actually still really don't know. So I wasn't expecting necessarily for her to kind of try to ambush me in that way and attack my character in that way.
Let's begin with the Sunny Hostin time warp. Parallel reality, where talking over others while accusing them of silencing women is branded as activism. In this magical place, accountability is seen as oppression, and smugness counts as a virtue. According to Sunny, if you disagree with her, you're either a bigot, a misogynist, or backed by big hatred. Her daily mission seems to be converting every panel debate into an interpretive performance of self-righteous rage.
Here's how she took the news. Roll it.
Wow. I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
Yeah. So how are you feeling, my friend?
I think it's actually pretty interesting that my husband and I have shared roots.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate that. And I think it's great for our children to know this information. I guess it's a fact of life.
Joe Rogan nailed it. He called it what it is: weaponized narcissism disguised as woke commentary. This is someone who, on national television, tried to reframe middle-class Americans as closeted oppressors. She acts like eating at Applebee's is a hate crime. She once floated the idea that rural Americans shouldn't be allowed to vote unless they could pronounce bourgeoisie without choking on irony. Rogan didn't need to do much. He simply held up a mirror, and Sunny recoiled from it like it was a subpoena.
I guess it's a fact of life that this is how some people made their living, on the backs of others.
Fact of life. Interesting change of tune. For more, we go to our chief Sunny Hostin correspondent for a reaction.
Greg Gutfeld didn't just hold up a mirror. He brought a megaphone, a spotlight, and a sarcasm-fueled bulldozer. Watching him peel back her contradictions felt like watching someone uncover that an onion is made entirely of recycled Twitter threads and indignation. Her political commentary has the nuance of a toddler, learning about taxes loud, confused, and wildly off base. Gutfeld didn't need to roast her. She basically doused herself in gasoline and walked into a truth wind tunnel, one of the most absurd things Sunny's done aside from labeling her own co-hosts dangerous extremists for basic common senses, declaring herself a voice for the voiceless, while monopolizing airtime on one of the biggest shows in daytime TV, because, apparently, it's really hard to get your opinion heard when you're contractually obligated to shout it 5 days a week before noon. Rogan, in one of his classic slow burn takedowns, simply shook his head like a disappointed dad watching his kid microwave aluminum. No theatrics needed, just a mirror reflecting a coastal mansion, private jet travel, and faux oppression. If victimhood were a timeshare, Sunny would be a platinum-tier member with beachfront guilt access.
But with that show is that show has this very specific ideological bubble in which they operate in. You know, and they always bring on a token conservative woman, and they yell over her and silence her. And, you know, they did that with Meghan McCain, and they did that with the, what is that other blonde woman from Survivor? Do you remember her, Jamie? She was always yelling. I mean, it's just, it's a bizarre show.
Greg Gutfeld went full surgical on her logic, if you can even call it logic. He laid out her greatest hits of unintentional comedy with pinpoint accuracy, like when she said certain opinions shouldn't be given a platform while using her own massive platform to shout that into the void. That's like protesting junk food with a cheeseburger in each hand. Gutfeld didn't hold back. He gave her the brisket-style roast, slow and sizzling. Sunny's worldview is like a broken GPS, constantly rerouting toward cliffs of insanity. Everything's a threat. Everyone's a problem, and somehow she's always the solution. Let's not forget she once claimed basic math was problematic because it didn't factor in lived experience. Yes, you heard that right, she tried to cancel arithmetic. Rogan almost choked from laughing when someone reminded him, according to him, if feelings are math now, then 2 equals my truth, and gravity owes us all an apology. Rogan's ability to roast without raising his voice is what makes it lethal. He doesn't even need to insult her. He just repeats her points slowly, like he's explaining physics to a turtle. And somehow, it hits harder than a shout fest. Meanwhile, Gutfeld had a field day with Sunny's ability to twist every cultural issue into an unrecognizable pretzel of contradictions. She can take a debate on school lunches and end up blaming systemic oppression. Gutfeld described it like watching someone try to defuse a bomb with a blender, chaotic, loud, and it ends with everyone in tears.
But that means it's time for...
Living your life and you're feeling low. You don't know what is true. You don't know what's true. So you quick flip through the channels to watch Sunny on The View. Oh my God, the stuff she says is dumb. Where the hell they get this woman from? She's a host who's always crass and lame, with lots of nonsense to proclaim. If you want a show where people know the host is stupider than you, then Set your DVR to watch Sunny Hostin on The View.
Nicely done, Gene.
Then there's the classic Hostin humble brag lecturing Americans on inequality while casually name-dropping her Ivy League degree and vacation home. She insists she's just like us while sipping custom oat milk lattes and tweeting about the struggle from her yacht. Gutfeld turned this contradiction into a Broadway musical and called it The Privileged Prophet, a sunny tale. And let's not forget her crowning achievement, claiming moral superiority while sitting beside Joy Behar. That's like being the designated driver at a demolition derby. Rogan compared her to a fortune cookie rewritten by Tumblr vague self-important and totally allergic to nuance. Greg wasn't done. He pointed out the irony of Hostin decrying misinformation while being a walking Wikipedia page of unverified outrage. She's the kind of person who misremembers one headline and spends a week yelling at his gospel while accusing others of not doing research. Greg said it's like bringing a kazoo to a symphony and demanding first-chair violin. And then there's her infamous claim that anyone who disagrees with her doesn't understand the lived black experience. Rogan, who's interviewed more brilliant black thinkers than Sunny has name-dropped, just blinked. The level of unearned moral altitude was so high, NASA could track it.
Very strange show, but it's fun to watch. It's just fun to watch them.
It's good entertainment.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly.
Well, they're just, it's interesting because I think Sunny is very intelligent, but she's ideologically captured.
Right.
I think the other ones, there's a couple of the other ones don't have to name any names, who are just very dull-minded. But I think Sunny's not one of them. I think she's smart but captured.
Sure, I think she came into it with an agenda.
Of course. They do everything with an agenda.
Yeah.
Greg said it best. Sunny Hostin doesn't want equality. She wants exemption from criticism, debate, and consequences. She wants to play a game where she writes the rules, changes them mid-game, then yells racist if anyone notices. It's like playing Monopoly with a toddler who eats the money and sobs when you ask for rent. She treats discussion like a courtroom where she's the judge, jury, and only permitted speaker. Rogan compared debating her to trying to teach a cat to juggle pointless, chaotic, and guaranteed to end in scratches. And then comes the victim cosplay, the emotional red carpet, where Sunny rolls out her trauma whenever challenged. Every disagreement is an attack. Every question is violence. Every sarcastic jab is deeply problematic. Gutfeld roasted this so hard it should have come with marshmallows. He described her as the human version of a fire alarm that only goes off when someone uses logic. Rogan, ever the calm savage, noted that if Sunny had her way, podcasts would be banned. Books would come with trigger warnings, and dinner conversations would require a fact-checker and a therapist. In Sunny's world, intellectual diversity is dangerous and echo chambers are safe spaces.
Oh, I'm going to milk this till the end of time. You're right. Anytime she says something stupid, I'm going to go, slave owner! Exactly, because if she is shaming descendants of this, will she continue to do that when she is now one of them? And it is funny. She's so wrapped up in identity, and she had no idea who she was.
And it's not just politics. Sunni's got scorching takes on science, too. This is the woman who once implied biology needed a redo because it didn't consider the emotional impact of facts. Gutfeld had a field day, calling it the academic equivalent of eating crayons and blaming the menu. In what universe does someone believe you can challenge science by tweeting about feelings? Sunny does. Ask her for a source, and she accuse you of tone policing while torching your credibility. Gutfeld said her next book should be called Gaslight, the memoir, complete with a foreword in all caps. Rogan's final burn came with one damning. Truth Sunny doesn't host conversations. She holds ideological hostage negotiations. Disagree, and you're evil. Question, and you're canceled. Laugh, and you're a threat to democracy. Her environment is so sanitized, even bacteria would feel unsafe. Sunny's media legacy won't be brilliance or eloquence. It'll be the volume of accidental comedy she created while trying to sound profound. Rogan and Gutfeld just held up a Miran surprise. The emperor wasn't wearing clothes.
People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions? Like you said, and it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. So, but the problem with her is that she went full racist. She injected skin color into a fairly generic behavior seen in all spouses, regardless of skin color. People marry, they listen to each other, they have something in common with them, they share their political views. She just didn't want to upset her husband by saying her husband makes her do everything, and then she'd have to accuse him of being a racist. Because if he told her that this is what white women do, then he's a racist. You see?
She was wrapped in self-righteousness and banking on no one noticing the hypocrisy poking from under the hemline. They didn't just take down Sunny Hostin, they audited her worldview, bounced her logic checks, repossessed her moral high ground, and left a trail of sound bites soaked in contradiction. And they did it all while laughing. Because sometimes absurdity doesn't deserve a debate, deserves mockery. For those keeping score, 2 podcast mics, 1 Fox News mug, 0 rebuttals, and a sunny disposition completely turned to shade. She'll complain about tone, then deliver the emotional equivalent of a smug sledgehammer. Gutfeld said, "She's the only person who can make Sunshine feel condescending, like a glare in disguise. Their takedown wasn't personal, it was structural. They dismantled her ideological scaffolding beam by beam. When your platform is built on outrage and buzzwords, all it takes is a breeze of common sense to topple the tower. In the end, Sunny Hostin's arguments don't collapse under pressure, they evaporate under scrutiny. Rogan and Gutfeld didn't destroy her with venom. They used something far more potent: clarity.